Here's everything you might have missed in the Matrix Resurrections trailer. If you see a white rabbit, folks, please don't panic because Easter marketing isn't starting insanely early this year. Rather, The Matrix Resurrections dropped a brand new trailer on Monday morning to start your week on a delightfully dystopian note. And if you thought the first trailer for The Matrix Resurrections was a blast from the past, well, this new trailer dials the déjà vu up to 11.
What did you just say?
Despite quips from yesteryear about knowing kung fu, these nostalgic nods serve a much larger purpose in the tangled web of technological torture that The Matrix Resurrections is weaving. The second trailer gives us a much better idea about what to expect from the fifth entry in the Matrix series, or the fourth one if you don't count the Animatrix like some kind of idiot. With plenty of Easter eggs, hidden details, and theory fodder, we're going to break down everything for you in just a moment. However, this trailer seems to be much more spoilery than the last one was, so if you want to go into this movie thinking the steak you're eating is juicy and delicious, just take the blue pill and go about your day.
Then we have a deal.
I don't want to remember nothing.
Alright, let's get into it, shall we? The trailer begins with a shot of the San Francisco skyline, followed by some familiar sights. Morpheus explains that we're all trapped in strange repeating loops, which accounts for all of the déjà vu moments that permeated the first trailer and this one as well. Here, though, they're being much blunter about it, showing one-to-one comparisons between moments from the original Matrix movies and Resurrections. For example, the first one we see is a bunch of armed police officers bursting in on Trinity using the telephone in a rundown building. We see Neo standing in the Simulate coffee shop where he saw Trinity for the first time in the previous trailer, and the look she gives him as she goes to leave echoes a similar moment when they arrived on Zion in The Matrix Reloaded. Perhaps most revelatory, though, is that Jonathan Groff's mystery character, who we saw in the Deus Machina offices from the first trailer, is the film's new version of Agent Smith. He even quotes Smith's line from the first film, "Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious." We also see this new Agent Smith pull the same cat got your tongue trick they used on Neo during the interrogation scene in the first film. As for Deus Machina, if you recall, Deus Ex Machina was the leader of the machines with whom Neo negotiated a peace during the Matrix Revolutions. Here, though, it seems that peace was never an option. It's followed by a fourth wall breaking scene of Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Morpheus and Jessica Henwick as the blue-haired Bugs, taking Neo to a set full of the exact props from the original red pill, blue pill scene, right down to those big red chairs and the mirror. We see that moment projected on the wall from the original movie like a cinematic memory, along with a tear through the middle of the screen. This is Neo's reality coming apart at the seams, a realization that what he thought was real was still a simulation, and the machines have not relinquished their iron grip on him or any of the other humans they use as blood-filled meat batteries. What Neo thought happened previously was merely a performance on the stage. It's a tale told by someone who knows kung fu, full of sound and fury signifying nothing. At least that's what the machines want Neo to believe. And while some fans may complain that Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving are not returning as Morpheus and Agent Smith respectively, there's actually a method to the film's madness, and it all relates back to the machines implementing yet another level of control.
Bingo.
The implication is that while what we saw in the previous films was real, it was still another level of inception, a simulation within a simulation. Despite the apparent peace reached between man and machine in the Matrix Revolutions, nothing has actually changed. The real question, though, is why is Neo back in this new version of the Matrix caught in a loop of déjà vu? Did Neo create this world to have a planet where Trinity's still alive, or are the machines trying to prevent Neo from rising up again and realizing his true potential by feeding him a series of comfortably familiar scenarios? It all feels like a meta-commentary on reboot culture in a sense where we just tell the same story over and over for no other reason than a sense of comfortable familiarity, recognition, and economic motive.
I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the sixth version.
Moving on, while the original film featured a sickly greenish tinge to everything whenever we were inside the Matrix and a bluish one whenever we were in the so-called real world, this time around we see the Matrix is filled with a bluish tint instead, perhaps referencing the blue pill, and most of what we see in the machine world is actually bathed in this nightmarish red light. Next, Morpheus tells Neo that this is the moment for Neo to show us what's real. We see Neo touch the mirror, which ripples like liquid as it did in the original film. It's followed by Morpheus and Bugs pushing Neo through a wall of the Matrix and into what appears to be the real world as it's bathed in red. We see Trinity leaping off a wall to attack an armed goon, followed by Neo on his knees with a gun pointed to his head, presumably by Jonathan Groff. Sprinklers rain down on Neo and he's in a position that evokes Morpheus in the original Matrix when he was captured by Agent Smith. This is followed by Bugs frantically rushing to Neo's aid back in the red pill, blue pill stage scene, and Neo being jacked into the Matrix maybe on the Nebuchadnezzar or a brand new ship, the Nebuchadnezzar. When he awakens, Neo is back in the Construct, that giant virtual workspace depicted as a massive white room where Zion operatives would prepare themselves for missions into the Matrix. It's the first time that Neo seems to actively remember what's happened to him previously in a way that goes beyond mere déjà vu.
I remember this.
This is followed by the WB logo, which turns from a yellowish gold color on the sides and bottom to a digital green full of computer code on the top. While the green obviously represents the Matrix, the yellowish gold could actually reference how Neo saw things from the machine's perspective when he used his third eye to see after being blinded in the Matrix Revolutions. Next, we hear Bugs say, "So déjà vu, and yet it's obviously all wrong. Maybe this isn't the story we think it is." And after that, we see the modern incarnation of the Machine City. Now, despite the Matrix being rebooted and humans given the chance to leave of their own free will at the end of Revolutions, it looks like the machines are still harvesting all manner of bioelectric energy in massive towers full of human batteries. Next, we see Neo standing on the roof of a skyscraper staring into the distance, and if you look closely, the buildings in the sky are decaying into green Matrix code, giving the sense this world isn't finished rendering yet. As they mentioned in another TV spot, it seems to be hastily assembled over old code, and this could be the outer boundary of the simulation. Either way, they need to patch that damn draw distance. In the very next shot, though, we see Neo in a black suit with a red and black checkered collar, which evokes a chessboard. And it evokes even more of that Alice in Wonderland imagery alongside the white rabbit that Neo followed back in the first place. The real question, though, is whether Neo is a mere pawn on this chessboard or if he's actually one of the players. We then catch another glimpse of the recreation of the Kung Fu fight between Neo and Morpheus, and while that's happening, Morpheus tells Neo, "They taught you good, made you believe their world was all you deserved." And while this is happening, we see Neo back in the real world with very different biomechanical implants. This is yet another clue that we're getting a glimpse of the actual machine world rather than a simulation within a simulation. It's followed by Neo walking through the Matrix, able to perceive the source code everywhere except for a patch that he's standing in, which is a little bit weird. Morpheus continues by telling Neo that some part of him knew that everything was a lie, which is why we see Neo back here in Awakening once more. We then see Neo about to step off the ledge of a roof party into open air. Now, the presence of the window washers had us wondering if this could maybe be a parallel to the office escape scene from the original, but this seems to suggest that Neo's accepting that he can bend this reality to his will. Hopefully, though, he won't learn it the hard way like the bouncy pavement from the Jump program, but only time will tell.
Everybody falls the first time.
Morpheus tells Neo that some part of him remembered what was real, as we immediately cut to a shot of Trinity on that giant projection screen. And next, as Neo walks through a giant glowing door with white light, we get one of the other biggest surprises of the trailer, the return of Jada Pinkett Smith as Niobe. Visibly aged, this version of Niobe seems to be back in the real world and may help guide Neo on his journey to rescue Trinity from the Matrix. Neo, with his shaven head that he has in the real world, sits attentively and listens to her counsel. As she talks about all the noise the Matrix pumps into users' heads, we see Neo, Bugs, Morpheus, and others fighting what I presume are agents on the train. This sequence continues with more of our heroes running through hallways, leaping out of windows, and dodging gunfire from agents. She explains that it's the same sound that war makes, meaning that this battle between the humans and the machines inside the Matrix is a distraction from what's really going on outside the Matrix. The machines want Neo and company to get caught up in this scramble, so they lose sight perhaps of their greater objectives. But also, there is a war in the real world between the last vestiges of humanity that aren't trapped inside the Matrix and the machines. We see massive ships firing on swarms of robots in this version of the real world that's erupting with flames, explosions, and lasers. This is all happening presumably in the ruins of a human city on the surface of the real world. After that, we see the train on which our heroes are fighting appears to be in the Japanese countryside near Tokyo, driving past sakura blossoms as Mount Fuji looms large in the background. Perhaps this is another program or simply another level of the Matrix our heroes escape to. And they definitely need to escape because we see a group of armed SWAT team officers burst in and open fire at Morpheus, Bugs, and Neo, launching a rocket that travels through whatever door they leave through and reappears on the train in Japan. Also, the face that Neo's making on the screen in that scene, pretty apt for what's happening. Now, while the concept of swapping avatars is definitely going to come up later in the trailer, the face we see during the train explosion on Neo's body, that's just a stunt double keeping Keanu safe and sound, so good job, stunt guy. Next, we see Neo, Morpheus, and Bugs confronting someone in what appears to be a garage or warehouse of some sort. This could be the same place where Neo fights that mysterious person from the first trailer, who could either be an agent or another human. It's still too early to tell. Then we get some very on-the-nose parallels of Jonathan Groff's new Agent Smith hunting Neo in the Deus Machina offices with his pistol drawn. After some more shots of Neo leaping from an explosion and Bugs wall running, we see Neo and Agent Smith battling in what appears to be a dilapidated subway station, which echoes their epic showdown from the original film right down to the wall slams. Back in the real world, bathed in red light, we see a mysterious woman, possibly Sati, saying the most important choice in Neo's life is not his to make. And while that's happening, we see that Trinity is still alive, trapped in one of the machine's goo pods, and her energy is being harvested. As we see Neo and Trinity share a kiss on a rooftop, it transitions to a shot of a helicopter opening fire on an office building just like we saw in the first film during the rescue of Morpheus. Neo says she believed in me, it's my turn to believe in her. Now, apart from Trinity believing that Neo was the one and he could achieve his true potential, they also had to believe in each other during that similar moment in the first film. During the helicopter scene, Neo struggled to hold on to the rope attached to the helicopter, and Trinity grabbed a hold of it, but severed it because she trusted that Neo wouldn't let her fall to her death. That same level of blind faith and implicit trust is going to be needed here if they want to emerge victorious. Except this time around, the implication seems to be that Trinity is the one rather than Neo. And while Neo is incredibly powerful, able to redirect a rocket back towards a chopper with his mind, Trinity seems to be the key to everything. However, based on everything in this trailer, I think they actually need both Neo and Trinity to fully awaken their inner potentials if they want to have any chance of saving the day. It's not the one, it's actually the two. We then get another version of the lobby scene from The Matrix as Trinity beats up a bunch of SWAT team members, and based on a later shot of Neo fighting off the FBI and other armed guards, this appears to be the lobby of the Simulate coffee shop based on the signs in the background. As she unleashes a primal scream, we see multiple versions and iterations of Trinity spread out from within her. This seems to be Trinity's attempt to break free from the layers of programming and control she's currently under inside the Matrix. We know that in the real world, she's being suppressed by the machines and their goo pods. So maybe all of these identities could have been uploaded into her consciousness to keep her senses dull and confused. After that, Trinity drives her motorcycle through crowded city streets while Neo uses his powers to repel obstacles and other vehicles. Trinity is the carrot that Morpheus dangles to get Neo to wake up and smell the virtual roses. Back in the dojo, he says, if you want to see Trinity again, fight for her. Indeed, she's maybe the only person that could motivate Neo to stop simply being Mr. Anderson and to fight for what's actually important to him. Surrounded by enemies, the two clasp hands in the lobby of Simulate, and a powerful burst of white light erupts from their palms, similar to what we see happen in the dojo fight a moment later. As they hold hands in the same garage warehouse from earlier in the trailer, Trinity tells Neo she saw this in a dream. That dream, of course, is what the machines were beaming into her head as she remains in a state of suspended animation in the bioelectric harvesting chamber. But is this actually the Trinity we know and see in the real world, or is she a virtual construct built from her own memories? Because in the recently released 60-second Deja Vu TV spot, we see Trinity dissolve into Matrix code shortly after she and Neo share that moment in the garage. That could also explain why we see Trinity erupt into multiple versions of herself. Those are all changes to the Matrix made by the machines, because as we know, deja vu is what happens when they make a change in the Matrix. That trailer also has the very revealing line, why use old code to mirror something new? And that's followed by Bugs replying, maybe this isn't the story we think it is, because rather than simply retelling the original story, it's meant to be a prison to contain both Neo and Trinity so neither can ruin their plans. The question is, whose plans are they? Did the architect renege on the peace treaty between the machines and the humans? Could this be the Merovingian with another contingent of machines? Because after all, we see the Merovingian in both his old form and his new form in that Deja Vu trailer as well. For now, though, we see Trinity opening her eyes inside that goo pod as someone moves to unplug Neo from the Matrix. This is followed by Trinity's hand emerging from that viscous red liquid, Neo and Trinity taking a leap of faith on the top of the building, and a battered and bloody Trinity telling Neo that her dream ended on the roof of the building they were just standing on. Now, my best guess is that Trinity's going to need to take that leap of faith off the building with Neo like he did in the jump program sequence way back when. By accepting the rules of this simulated reality, maybe she's going to be able to break through her own self-doubt and see the code of the Matrix just as Neo is eventually able to do in the first film. Now, rather than there simply being the one, these two are actually a dyad, two halves of a whole that must rise up together and use their powers to take down the machines that are oppressing them and keeping them all trapped in this nostalgia loop. Now, the trailer ends with Neo getting one over on Agent Smith and sending him flying into a wall in the subway station, followed by another shot of Neo back in that garage warehouse where he fought the mystery person in the first trailer, saying, I still know Kung Fu, and guess what? He still does.
Show me.
And that, folks, is everything that we spotted in the Matrix Resurrections trailer. While this seemingly gave away quite a bit about the true identities of mysterious new characters, we still have plenty of questions about who's really behind it all, why Trinity's the key to everything, and when they'll be opening a Simulate in our neighborhood. And we'll be waiting with bated breath until we get our answers when The Matrix Resurrections debuts on December 22nd. In the meantime, though, we have plenty of geeky goodness waiting for you over on Nerdist.com. For now, though, tell us, what did you think of the Matrix Resurrections trailer? Who do you think is really behind everything and what's happening here? And is there anything that we missed?
Nothing.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.